Hi, I am Patrick. This is Eric Little. This is Brian Fiore, and everyone knows Daniel Zizzias. And we are Just Got Played. We just got done filming Terraforming Mars at the Dice Tower 2017. Join us for Terraforming Mars. Brian Fiore.
Yes.
Tell us all about Terraforming Mars.
All right. Terraforming Mars is a 1 to 5 player game in which basically everyone is like a giant corporation, mega corporation, and they're taking the role of trying to terraform the planet of Mars for human habitability. Habitability is the perfect word, Brian. So basically, the end game condition is you have to get the temperature of the planet to the right, nice, warm sensation. You got to get the humidity of the planet, the oxygen content, to a certain degree, and then you also have to have enough oceans deployed. Once all of that is done, that triggers the end game condition, in which there's a giant point salad that takes place to determine who the winner of the game is. So, taking a couple steps back, essentially at the beginning of the game, each of the players are given a couple of corporation cards to pick. They pick the best 1 out of 2 cards, and then you're given drafting cards every round. And these basically represent patents or certain types of technology. There's events, which are like one-time cards. There's, what are the green cards called? Do you remember the specific type?
Nope.
Okay. There's green cards, there's blue cards, and there's the red cards. So some of them are events, some of them stay out, some of them have like a one-time effect, and then they change the game. Kind of like an enchantment or something like that, if you're familiar with Magic. But there's drafting that takes place every round, so you can kind of use that to get your strategy going as to what you're trying to do. And then, of course, you've got resource building allocation, like an economic type mechanic in the game, in which you're trying to manage your resources. There's titanium, there's steel, there's your gold, or they call it, what is it, the Mars Euro, looks like a Mars Euro symbol on there. Kind of like your gold.
It's your money.
Yeah, your money.
Your Martian credits or something.
Martian
Credits.
credits.
Yeah. Martian strippers, Daniel.
I'd probably say the wrong one. It's MC, but it's Martian credits, I think. I don't know.
And then you got plants. You've got the nuclear power, the purple one with the energy, the lightning bolt. I forget what that one's called.
Energy.
Energy.
That one has energy. The other one's heat.
And then you have heat. And then there's some interesting mechanics how they'll slide back and forth. Like the energy will turn into the heat if it's unused at the end of the turn. The plants, once you get so many of those, they develop and turn into, you could turn those into like nurseries or...
the forest, yeah. You can turn heat into rising temperatures if you collect enough.
Yeah. And then you can also spend your titanium to reduce the cost of some of the cards. I think that's like a 3-to-1 ratio, and then the steel is like a 2-to-1 ratio. And let's see, with that,
there's some tiling.
Oh yeah. In the center of the board. So you can build cities. You can when you melt the oceans or some ice caps, you can place the oceans, generate those. You've got the green.
Of that is card driven. Like everything that you have built your strategy into, you play a card, play up to 2 cards on your turn.
There's something like a bank of standard actions too.
Yeah,
right. Generate some
That's
stars
true.
as well.
You get what, up to 2 actions per turn?
Yeah, and you always have something to do for sure, because even if you have not the card to drive what you need, you also have that little standard bank of actions.
Yeah, so there's a lot of action selection going on. And then of course with the tile placement, putting all those down, you get so many points. If your city is next to an ocean, you get like 2 gold.
Yeah, it's all part of that beautiful point salad that makes up Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, a Martian salad.
Martian salad.
Love
that Martian salad.
But with that, Daniel, what would you say is your favorite thing about Terraforming Mars?
My favorite thing.
Speaking to the microphone.
My favorite thing about Terraforming Mars is the terraforming of Mars. My favorite thing in Terraforming Mars is probably This probably takes the longest time, but I've played beginner games where where they just like forego the drafting just so that people can get exposed to as many cards as possible, and then in the fastest way possible, so they can get going into playing the actual rounds. But the drafting part is actually what makes the game, because you're actually leaning into a specific strategy based on either like your starting corporation that you have, or some other cards that you have developed in the prior round. So the drafting in this is paramount for the experience, even though it significantly lengthens the time of the gameplay. So that's probably my favorite.
I would say my favorite thing about the game is probably the immersivity of it. There's so much going on. That you did mention that when you do the drafting, it does extend the time of the game. And we were learning the game at the same time, and so it took us a little bit longer than normal. But it was a good 5 hours or so by the time, and we didn't even realize it. We thought it was maybe about 2.5, 3 hours. We looked up and we're like, oh my god, it's been like 5 hours. So I would definitely say the immersivity just pulls you in to it. But Eric, what would you say is your favorite thing about Terraforming Mars?
I think Daniel had a really good point. Yeah, no, I mean, if I had to put it down to one thing, I'd say the variable player powers. I kind of like the idea of it at the beginning, kind of giving you sort of a direction to kind of focus on, especially with just the drafting and all the rest that goes into it. But yeah, I'm a sucker for variable player powers.
I don't think you can ever get bored. I mean, we played for 5 hours, and I don't normally sit for a game for 5 hours, but we played for 5 hours, and I don't think you could ever get bored playing this game. We played with a guy that played over 100 times in the last year, and he knew the name of every single card and all the mechanics and how it worked. And he said he loves it, and he loves to play it back to back. I honestly believe he's telling us the truth there. I think this game could lend itself to that with that kind of replayability. So much going on, so much rich, cool stuff happening. I think you can develop tons of different strategies and use different one every single time. Daniel, if you had to pick one thing you like the least about Terraforming Mars.
Component quality. The component quality for Terraforming Mars needs to get a little bit of an upgrade. We're talking about the player boards specifically, but just overall, I think that there could have been a bigger investment in this. Like, based on its popularity, right? You'd expect that there would have been there's so much third-party stuff going into Terraforming Mars right now. You got to think that like it lended itself to that almost immediately, right? So that would be the one thing that I think is the game is great. The game, I don't think there's anything wrong with the game itself at all. It does. I'm gonna steal this from Kim Brebech, he made Unfair and some other games, noteworthy games, but he says that it makes a promise and it delivers on that promise, right? So I feel like I've terraformed Mars. The experience is great. I wish that translated into better components.
I think I would have to say the thing that I like least about Terraforming Mars is probably the learning curve. And I mean, it's a heavy euro, but if you make a mistake like early on in the beginning of the game, that can definitely impact down the line your total number of points and everything. So you really got to be up to speed to be competitive at it and know basically all the cards and like kind of what all the strategies are going forward. I didn't really feel that there was a good catch-up mechanic, at least for me in the game. Like once I made a few mistakes early on, missed a couple of things, and I was dead last. So, but I could just feel that way because I lost. So, Eric, what would you say is the thing that you like least about Terraforming Mars?
Honestly, just the length of it. I don't think outside of a convention setting, being able to sit down for 5 or 6 hours is just one of those things that I'm just not going to be able to do. But on the flip side of that, I was shocked when Patrick told me that it was 5 hours that we sat down and played, because I figured it was probably only 3. So it's got that going for it. It didn't feel like 5 hours. It just was.
I can't think of anything I dislike except for that same thing. I mean, it was a 5-hour situation where it whacked, that's a big chunk of my day. But again, I didn't notice that during the game because there's so much stuff going on. With drafting, takes a little bit of time, but you always feel like you're doing something. I would say for if you had to play it for 5 hours, which obviously some people can play a little bit faster, but if you had to play it for 5 hours, there is at least 4 hours and 40 minutes of entertainment. And I think all of us can probably agree with that. No matter how long it took, we were pretty well entertained the entire time.
Yeah.
But this is Terraforming Mars, and you can buy it anywhere now. It's Terraforming Mars is hugely successful. Stronghold Games, right? Who is it? Guy?
Stronghold
This
Games.
is terraforming Eric's face.
By
So much better now.
by Stronghold Games, and you can get it. You can get it at Cool Stuff. They've got it here at Dice Tower. You can pick it up anywhere you need it. But
Not really gonna stay. There we go.
thank you very much for watching. Just Got Played.